If you're new to Deception Bytes, hit the like and subscribe button and be sure to hit the bell to be notified of future videos. If you wish to support the channel, the links are in the description below. Now, fasten your seatbelt. Here we go. Hey guys, it's Michelle, Deception Bytes, and today is Monday, October 15th, and unfortunately, Q is missing in action today again, so we are extending our Q fast of sorts, and we're going to get into some Q-related news. So this will be another rousing rendition of Q-related news, and there is plenty of that, and a lot of good news too for those of us that have been following this. I think that we're starting to see some interesting developments. Anyway, today, breaking, a federal judge just tossed out Stormy Daniels and Michael Avenatti's defamation case against President Trump and ordered them to pay Trump's legal fees. Now, that is sweet. That is very, very sweet. And further to that, let's go look at this, because we're going to see a letter from Trump's lawyer who says the following. Let's just see here. Oh, I knew I was going to do that. I knew it. Let's try and get it back. Here it is down here. Alrighty. Okay, so this is a statement from Charles J. Harder, Esquire of Harder LLP, litigation counsel for President Donald J. Trump. United States District Judge S. James Otero issued an order and ruling today dismissing Stormy Daniels' defamation lawsuit against President Trump. The ruling also states that the president is entitled to an award of his attorney's fees against Stormy Daniels. A copy of the ruling is attached. No amount of spin or commentary by Stormy Daniels or her lawyer, Mr. Avenatti, can truthfully characterize today's ruling in any way other than total victory for President Trump and total defeat for Stormy Daniels. The amount of the award for President Trump's attorney's fees will be determined at a later date. So, again, not only has she lost, but she has to pay the attorney's fees. So that means that she's paying for both attorneys. She's not only paying for her own attorney, although she may be giving him, she may have worked out a deal there, if you know what I mean. I don't know that. I'm just surmising. She is, after all, a porn star. So don't, get all in my face and saying, oh, that's a terrible thing to say. Well, she's a porn star, and I don't think that Michael Avenatti has too many morals or scruples either. So I'm just saying there that may have been worked out, but she is going to have to pay out of pocket for Trump's attorney's fees. Yeah, and you can bet that Trump did not hire a cheap lawyer. So there you go. That's justice. And I think we all love it when we see justice. So that's good. Anyway, let's go back and see what other trouble we can get into tonight. This is interesting. Nothing new for those of us that have been listening to Q all along, but it's interesting that this is coming out now, because for the rest of the world, this is news. For us, this is confirmation. So let's take a look at this. FBI withheld evidence that directly refutes premise of Trump surveillance. A senior GOP lawmaker made national headlines Sunday night, publicly confirming that the FBI withheld evidence that directly refuted the agency's premise behind the ongoing Russia-Trump collusion probe. The FBI only presented to the court the evidence that made the government's case to get a warrant to spy on a Trump employee, really, Carter Page. Texas Rep. John Ratcliffe was speaking with Fox News when he was asked to comment on the controversial FISA application that allowed the Department of Justice to surveil the Trump campaign heading into the 2016 election and beyond. Hypothetically, if the Department of Justice and the FBI have another piece of evidence that directly refutes that directly contradicts that, what what you would expect is for the Department of Justice to present both sides of the coin to the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court to evaluate the weight and sufficiency of that evidence, Ratcliffe said. Instead, what happened here was Department of Justice and FBI officials in the Obama administration in October of 2016 only presented to the court the evidence that made the government's case to get a warrant to spy on Trump campaign associate, he added. And that's exactly what happened, and we know that. But to the rest of the world, this is news because they're still thinking there was collusion. Oh, and there was collusion. Oh, there most certainly was collusion. It had nothing to do with Trump. It had everything to do with Clinton and the DNC and Obama and whoever else. That's where the collusion was. So, and really, I think that those people should be held responsible and even responsible financially, because how much has this cost our country? This sham of an investigation, really, Trump characterized it properly when he called it a witch hunt, because that's exactly what it was. It was a witch hunt, and, come hell or high water, someone was going to burn, and it was going to be Trump. But didn't work out that way. So sad for them. Not really. So, yeah, I really believe that there should be some financial responsibility. These people should be penalized financially that did this, because it ended up costing our country a lot of money, taxpayers' money. So, yeah. Anyway, and as you and I well know, there's lots of things that could be spent on in this country. I mean, anything would be better than what it was spent on. Anything at all. All right, let's go back now and let's look at this by Laura Loomer. One of Keith Ellison's campaign staffers just called for Democrats to decapitate Republicans the day after Election Day. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, calling for Democrats to decapitate Republicans. Minnesota, is this the type of attorney general you want? Allison is a jihadi, and his staffers are calling for the use of ISIS tactics against the GOP. And here we have her referring to her own tweet, breaking at Wilhelm Davis, the DFL, Deputy Communications Director, who currently works with Keith Ellison campaign at Ellison campaign, publicly called for the heads of GOP candidates and voters to be chopped off if they win the election. Well, talk about sore losers. Yeah, generally, you have some people, they may shed a few tears, they may be upset, they may have to go have a drink, whatever, but you don't generally be so upset at losing that you chop people's heads off. But, these are the types of people that we are dealing with. That's how they think. To me, that's pretty foreign. I don't think, not even in my wildest dream would would it even cross my mind to chop someone's head off. Seriously. But then, Okay, and let's go on to this little interesting tidbit. Finally, Elizabeth Warren took a DNA test, which Trump had been urging her to do and said that he would pay for. Well, she did. And I mean, honestly, she needs better people advising her. She really does. Because that was the last thing she needed to do. Because now she is a laughingstock, literally. Cherokee Nation tribe leader says Elizabeth Warren is an obvious white woman. He further added that her use of a DNA test to prove she is Native American is inappropriate and wrong, and makes a mockery out of DNA tests. Big goof. Oh, yeah. And here we have the Cherokee Nation on Monday afternoon called out Senator Elizabeth Warren for attempting to claim Native American heritage by releasing the results of, and that was a DNA test. Now, before we go on from that, I have some other stuff related to that. So let me see if I can find that so I can keep us on the same topic. Here, breaking major correction from the Boston Globe, because they originally reported that that the DNA test showed that she was 512th Native American, which means that it would have been back, I think, 6 or 7 generations. There may have been a grandmother, like sit back that many generations. There may have been a grandmother that had a little bit of native blood, and because of that, she is calling herself a native, which is absolutely ludicrous and asinine. But anyway, here the Boston Globe is correcting itself. She's not 512th Native American. She's 1 in 1024th part. That's 0.0009765,625. She doesn't even have 1%. In fact, she doesn't even have 0.001%. Like, wow. Yeah. And actually, somebody was saying, and here's something else along the same lines, which I think is interesting. James Wood, and I always appreciate his view. He's a very, very smart man. He's a member of Mensa. People think of him as an actor, and a lot of times we don't think of actors as being smart, but he is actually brilliant, this man. And he said, yes, she defrauded the institutions, the government, and stole opportunities from minorities. And John Cardillo, make no mistake what went on here. Elizabeth defrauded actual minority candidates. And yes, she did. And I think that's what this goes into, if I'm not mistaken. Let me click on this and see. Nope, that's the wrong thing. Hang on here. Let me see if I'm just going to close some of these down so that it'll go a little bit quicker here. And where is this? Because I did have something that showed she had claimed this status to get into all sorts of things, Harvard being one of them. And yeah, she should be charged with fraud. Maybe this is it. Nope. That's something else entirely different. Well, we'll go on and maybe we'll get to it. I'm pretty sure that I saved it. At least I really hope I did. But one never knows because, because I'm me. All right. I guess I didn't. Anyway, let's go on and to the next item, and it is this. Now, this is Shane McCallum, House candidate for Minnesota 15B, was assaulted at a restaurant while campaigning and suffered a concussion by a politically motivated attacker. Now, this seems to be happening more and more. Now, this is Shane McCallum from his Twitter page, and it says, on Friday evening, I was assaulted in Benton County. I suffered a concussion, and the incident is now in the hands of law enforcement. While I have never met my assailant, the words he yelled at me before he attacked led me to believe his actions were politically motivated. When I chose to run for office, I expected to be politically attacked, but never physically. I weighed whether or not to share this today, but ultimately I think we need a reminder to be civil to each other regardless of our perspectives. Finally, thank you to those of you have reached out. My family and I are so grateful for your prayers and words of support. So just remember Shane McCallum in Minnesota. He is running in this upcoming election and was assaulted by, I presume, a Democrat, although he was far too polite to say that. It was somebody that disagreed with him vehemently and enough to knock him out and give him a concussion. So that's not cool. All right, now I think that you guys are really going to enjoy this, like really, really going to enjoy this. Like on a scale of 1 to 10 of enjoying a news item, I think this is a 10. It might even be a 10.4. I don't know, but here we go. Now, We remember her, don't we? She is from Hawaii, and her name is Mazi Hirono. And this says karma. Mazi Hirono under fire for reportedly covering up sexual harassment scandal. Well, well. Now, she was so violently opposed to, well, not violently, but vehemently opposed to Kavanaugh because of, she thought that he had sexually assaulted Dr. Ford. Hawaii Senator Mazi Hirono, who told all men to shut up during the Kavanaugh smear campaign and who insists all women must be heard, is now under fire for ignoring women who were being emotionally harassed and verbally abused by a male flight instructor who taught at a flight school Hirono created when she was lieutenant governor. Hirono is actually accused of personally covering up the abuse, and one survivor, Deborah Reed, claims the abuse was so bad that all the female members of the class dropped out. Reed claims she personally brought the abuse complaints to Hirono, but nothing was ever done, and the male abuser was allowed to continue on with his behavior. Well, well, well. You know, what goes around comes around, doesn't it? Really. I mean, imagine her being so outspoken against Kavanaugh and how all women must be heard and, telling the men to shut up. And then she runs a flight school with a male instructor who's abusing the class members, so much so that they all have to leave. Now, you know what? I've sat through a lot of classes in my life that were really bad, and I've had some really horrific professors. Most 99% good, but never have I actually considered pulling out of the class. That's pretty radical, especially if it's something I need, So I tend to believe that there was abuse going on, especially if all of the women left. And this person, why wasn't this person listened to? If Hirono thinks all women should be heard and believed, why wasn't Deborah Reed listened to and heard? Hypocrites. Hawaii Senator Mazi Hirono is facing tough questions after a Honolulu flight school alum named Deborah Reed said that Hirono personally covered up sexist harassment occurring at a flight school that Hirono created as lieutenant governor. Reed said that all female members of the class dropped out after they were emotionally and verbally abused by a male flight instructor who went on to a successful career in the industry. Reed said that she personally brought information about the harassment to Hirono, and Hirono heard her concerns. But male students in the class delivered a petition to Hirono defending their instructor and the workplace environment, and Ms. Reed's case did not go forward. Here is Deborah Reed's statement to Big League Politics. I was an aviation student in a program that Senator Mazi Hirono created in 1998, then lieutenant governor with Honolulu Community College, University of Hawaii, and University of North Dakota flight training program. There were 20 students and 2 of us were females. As the time went on, more women signed up, but none were getting passed by the chief flight instructor. I contacted these women after they dropped out from the program, and they told me that they were being emotionally and verbally abused by the chief flight instructor. He would bully them until they were in tears and quit. One other female told me One other female told me he kept doing her check ride over again several times and never passed her. As for how he treated me, he would grab the controls out of my hands and demean, yell, and berate me while flying in the cockpit. He also didn't pass me on check rides. I complained to the college and reported the chief flight instructor and how he was treating females in the aviation program. I also contacted Lieutenant Governor Mazi Hirono and told her what was going on and how the male chief flight instructor was treating the females in her program. After I did this, my male flight instructor refused to fly with me, and the male students signed a petition that they gave Lieutenant Governor Mazi Hirono and told her everything was great at the program. I suspect they did this because they were protecting their own careers, as there were no other flight training programs at the colleges in Hawaii. I was suspended from the aviation program after complaining to the college, which was in the summer of 2000. The chief flight instructor remained at the flight training program for a while, but was eventually replaced by a female chief flight instructor, and they also brought over female flight instructors into the program after I was kicked out. Excuse me. Mazie Hirono was lieutenant governor at the time for Hawaii, and this was her program that she created, and she was fully aware of how the females were being treated in the program, but did nothing to protect us against the male chief flight instructor. So anyway, I'm not going to go into all of it, but this is very, very interesting. Yeah, and it's typical of the Democrats. That's all I can say. It seems to be typical. Pretty alarming, really, but I mean, in a normal world, it would be alarming. In the world that we're living in now, not so much, but it's sad, isn't it? So let's go on to the next thing, and this is good news from Ivanka Trump. Women's unemployment rate is at a 65-year low, and almost 1.9 million more women are working today than in January 2017. Almost every economic metric has improved since POTUS took office, and nearly 55% of unemployment gains have occurred among women. Now, that's good news. It's very good news. We know that it's the lowest it's ever been for African Americans, the unemployment rate, but I believe now that the unemployment rate as a whole is at an all-time low, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that I read that, but women's unemployment rate is at a 65-year low. Yeah, I guess Obama will have to take credit for that as well, just like he did with the economic boom we are now experiencing. He took credit for that and said, oh, well, just remember when all this started. Yeah, we remember when it all started. It was like the day that President Trump took office. That's the day when it started. Sure, we all remember that. All right. Now, okay, this is what I was looking for. I love this. Narrative Buster. According to a comprehensive DNA study by the Genetic Literacy Project, an average white person in America has 0.18% Native American DNA. This means Senator Warren has statistically less Indian DNA than the average white American. Humiliating self-own here. Now, so, I mean, I think that Senator Warren is not only not Native American, but she's whiter than the average white person. So she's pretty white. She'd be like the white bread, in the bakery. She'd be like the whitest of white bread, the soft, fluffy white bread, the stuff that's really bad for you. Anyway, so, yeah. So congratulations, Senator Warren. You've proven that statistically you're more white than the average white. Wow, that's great. I wonder how much that cost you to find that out, how white you really are. So I wonder if all those perks that she got from being Native American, I'd call that, let me see, what would I call that? Fraud. Yeah, that's what I'd call it. Yep. All right, now let's go out to the next little tidbit. I don't know what this is. I can't remember, but we're going to find out together. Oh, yes. Democrat Senator Carper has admitted to beating his wife. Yes, that's right. He's admitted to beating his wife. He must resign now. Bet he won't. Now, let's listen to this.
Kavanaugh. A women's group is, and Democrat Senator Tom Carper is being criticized over his opposition of Brett Kavanaugh. A women's group is now putting his feet to the fire over his past admissions of domestic violence. One America's Jack Posobiec has more from Washington.
Recently, Democrat Senator Tom Carper voted against Brett Kavanaugh over allegations of sexual assault, which were not corroborated. Now, the group Women Concerned Against Domestic Violence has decided to lodge a complaint against Senator Carper due to his own past admissions.
Dear Senator Carper, we believe the time is now for you to become accountable for your past and present actions. We really want to do something about this double standard, this hypocrisy. He voted against Justice Kavanaugh. So how does that line up with his position? Why does he feel that he is qualified to be the senator for Delaware? And Justice Kavanaugh, who was accused of something with absolutely no corroborating evidence, why did he go against him? And yet he has admitted that he abused his wife. So we think it's time to clean house on both the Democrat and Republican side, and men who have committed that kind of violence toward their wives should not hold office.
Agreed. So this guy was so against Kavanaugh because of uncorroborated, there was no corroborating evidence at all, none. And yet he admitted that he beat his wife. He admitted it, but nothing's done to him. Now, where does he get off? I don't know. It's like the hypocrisy. It blows my mind. It really does. I don't know how these people sleep at night. I don't. The problem is they're probably sleeping better than we are at night, because they're probably up scheming and, conniving, and I don't know. All right, let's go on. And the next thing we have is from Representative Jim Jordan. Still haven't received from the DOJ McCabe memos, Rosenstein 8/12/17 memo altering scope of Mueller probe, unredacted page FISA application, Bruce Orr's 302s. Now the 302s, remember, are just the documents that they write when they're interviewing someone. When the FBI is interviewing someone officially, they write it on a 302 document. So that is what that's referring to. Briefing from U.S. Attorney John Huber. And now Rosenstein won't testify, and Glenn Simpson takes the fifth. And Glenn Simpson, of course, is the head of Fusion GPS. So, when is President Trump going to get involved in this? And that's the problem. It's like a a double bind situation, because if he doesn't get involved, that information isn't going to be found out. But if he does get involved, of course, other people will say, well, that just proves he's guilty because he's trying to do this and this and this. And so I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen here. I think this information is going to come out. I'm just not sure what's going to have to happen before it does. So let's go, and the next thing is here. I think this has to do with George Soros, our favorite person, not. Soros says real Donald Trump will disappear in 2020 or sooner. He says Dems will be big in 18 and 20. If this video doesn't fire you up to vote these midterms, nothing will. November 6, 2018, vote Republican. And I couldn't agree more. So now let's listen to...
Clearly, I consider the Trump administration a danger to the world, but I regard it as a purely temporary phenomenon.
It's hard to hear because of his accent, but what he just said is, I regard Trump as a danger to... Now, see, I can't even remember.
A danger to the world.
A danger to the world, but I view it as a temporary situation, basically.
but I regard it as a purely temporary phenomenon that will disappear in 2020 or even sooner.
Now, how could that, he's saying that Trump is merely a phenomenon that will disappear in 2020 or sooner. How could he disappear sooner than 2020? Think about that. What is he saying, really? You can't just, I mean, he's in office. He's been put in office legitimately by the people. We voted him into office. He's a duly elected president. So how exactly does George Soros think he's going to disappear before 2020? I'd like to know. Wouldn't you? Really?
I give President Trump credit for motivating his core supporters brilliantly. But for every core supporter, he has created a greater number of core opponents who are equally strongly motivated.
Actually, that's not true. He's saying, well, Trump he motivates his core believers and supporters brilliantly, and he does. But for each of those, there are 3 others that oppose him. Well, that's not true. And the polls show it. The polls show it. I think that I believe that he's got more than 50% approval rating. Now, you're not going to get mainstream media to say that, but it's obvious. It's obvious. Like, look at his rallies. Like, people wait outside for hours to get into them. Hours. People come from all over, and they're packed to the rafters. And they turn away people at every rally. Like, he's popular. He can't, any way he tries to spin this, it's not going to work, because I think people see through this now.
That's why I expect a Democratic landslide in 2018.
Well, he can expect it all he wants. He can sit there and expect whatever, Yeah. I expect some steaming hot lasagna to walk through my door and put it right here beside me and bring me a spoon and a napkin. That's what I expect. But it's not going to happen. Well, I mean, unless I phone up, what do you call that? Fast food, takeout, delivery. You can expect anything you want, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen. And it won't happen. I mean, I don't know what this guy's smoking, but it's something strong. All right, now let's go to the next thing. I'm going to make this bigger. I found this meme and I thought it was very, very well done. So I thought I would share it. And it's progressive socialist globalism. And this is the side that has Clinton and Obama and Soros. It has the email scandal, the money, the laundering, Benghazi. It's a big one, the Clinton Foundation. And it says radical socialist globalism. Increase taxes, regulation. That is what they want, is to increase taxes and regulation, because how else are they going to pay for all these things that they want to do, like invite people in, foreigners that have no jobs, and be able to support them. And these things cost money. They cost a lot of money. And so that means you and I have to work harder and pay more taxes, right? So increased taxes and regulations, economy, jobs collapse, no wall, more illegal refugees, amnesty in first 100 days. That's ludicrous. There is no other country on the face of the earth that offers that. None. Zero. Zip. Nada. More expensive Obamacare. Yeah, that's a train wreck, that is. Pro-Trans-Pacific Partnership, debt, 20 plus trillion near default, email, Benghazi scandals. And then over here we have American nationalism, and Trump says, mobilizes everybody by urging us to come together to save the country, which is what I believe that we're doing. and it stands for capitalism, reducing taxes and regulations, economy, jobs explode. We've already seen this. We've seen this. He's only been in office for 2 years. Not even 2 years. Already the economy is doing well, jobs are increasing. He wants to build the wall, no illegal refugees, no amnesty, no free ride. You and I don't get a free ride. I mean, we have to, I don't know. I can't imagine knocking on the door of a country other than my own and Canada. I mean, other than Canada and the U.S. and just deciding, well, you know what? I think I would like to move to, I don't know, and picking a country and just knocking on their door and going, well, I'm here. Support me. Give me a free ride. Give me citizenship. Give me amnesty in the first 100 days. I'm here 3 months, and then give me citizenship. Pay my way. Pay my medical, pay my dental, pay my education, pay for it all. I'm here. I am your gift. I'm sure I can already guarantee what they'd say to me after they finished my mental health evaluation. They'd put me on the first bus or plane home or ship, whatever. However they could get me here fastest. That's what they do. Like, you can't just do that. Show up in a country and go, well, here I am. I'm a gift. Now support me, feed me, clothe me, educate me. Give me free medical care. I want everything. It doesn't work that way. Repeal Obamacare, anti-trans-Pacific partnership, debt eliminated, no scandals. And there haven't been any scandals in the Trump campaign yet, except for the ones that the Democrats dream up. And my gosh, they've got more of an imagination than I do. I've always been told I had such a wild imagination. Well, they are far more superior than I am with thinking up things, to pin on other people. Anyway, forget Republican or Democrat. This country is in an epic battle for its survival and sovereignty. Make America great again. Take this country back. Yes, that's exactly what we all agree with and what we want. That is exactly what we want. All right. Now, we've already looked at this, the correction from the Globe about Elizabeth Warren's DNA. She is whiter than the whitest of the whites. So she is like the queen of the whites. She is the white queen. That's what she is. I mean, there isn't anyone ever that's ever been as white as her. Okay, I'm going a little bit overboard now, but she's pretty white. Dang, she's white. She is like whitest of white. Seriously, I wish my clothes could get that clean. Anyway, let's look at this. Now, breaking. DOJ arrests and extradites officer of China's Ministry of State Security for espionage. Yanjun Shu, was lured to Belgium, arrested there, and extradited to U.S. yesterday. His targets were multiple U.S. aerospace and aviation companies. Fascinating case and caller for DOJ. Now, I'm not going to get into all this and read this, but it's the reason I pulled this out for you guys to show you guys was because I wanted to show you that, you know what, they're working. They, Q kept telling us that they're telling us to look towards Russia when it's not Russia that we need to be looking at, it's China. But while we're looking over there at Russia, China's pulling the wool over our eyes. So I think that this is good news that this person was arrested for espionage, and I think that's probably just a shot in the barrel there because I think there's probably a whole lot more. Anyway, so that's good news. And man, that guy, like looking at me there, this guy right here, it's like looking right through me. Okay, let's go. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just feeling a little paranoid tonight. I don't know. Okay, let's go back. And we looked at this as well from James Wood. So we are left with this, and I think that this is appropriate to end with. Something big. Now, I just want to preface this by saying I'm not a fan of Sarah Palin. I'm not. And that's fine. I have my own reason, which I won't get into, but I'm sure she's a lovely person. So don't, give me little hate comments down there and say, but Sarah Palin, no, don't do that. But I can appreciate her. I just, anyway, that's way more than I should have said. Something big is happening. Trump hints November could defy all the odds. Now, this is an interesting. President Trump defied all the odds in his 2016 presidential win over Hillary Clinton, and he seems to believe history will repeat itself in the upcoming congressional elections. Various polling sites have noted that more than 90% of the time, the president's party loses in the first congressional election after their respective win. In more specific polls, Democrat candidates are also favored to win, leading experts to believe that the Democrat Party will win back one or both legislative chambers. Trump said he has noticed something that Democrats and the media are not daring to talk about ahead of consequential election. His rallies are often sold out, not even leaving one empty seat. The crowds at my rallies are far bigger than they have ever been before, including the 2016 election, Trump said in a tweet on Monday morning. Never an empty seat in these large venues, many thousands of people watching screens outside. Enthusiasm and spirit is through the roof, he added before teasing that his revelation could allude to something big in November. Something big is happening. Watch, Trump exclaimed. The crowds at my rallies are far bigger than they've been before, including the 2016 election. Never an empty seat in these large venues. Many thousands of people watching screens outside. Enthusiasm and spirit is through the roof. Something big is happening. Watch. And that is from his tweet. As the Washington Examiner reports, the election will certainly have major implications for the remainder of the Trump administration. The midterm elections are less than a month away, and Trump has been holding several rallies each week in support of GOP candidates. Rallies during the presidential election were notorious for being energetic and rowdy, with thousands of attendees every time. Trump has admitted that midterm turnouts usually go against the incumbent in the White House, but has also said he sees signs of a possible red wave this time around. The GOP is working up its base to keep a majority in both chambers of Congress, while Democrats continue to claim a blue wave is coming in November that will give them the ability to block Trump's agenda. Don't think so, Democrats. Don't think so. Will Republicans be able to continue lowering unemployment? Yeah. Creating jobs? Yeah. Growing the economy? I don't know. Yeah. And bettering internal trade labels? Oh, I don't know about that. Yeah. Yep. Or will the party of delay, resist, and obstruct be allowed to come into power? No, that's not going to happen. As counselor to the president, Kellyanne Conway said on Monday morning, the Trump administration has all hands on deck approach to the upcoming election. This president is out there doing all he can, as is the vice president and others for the 2018 elections. And I would say absolutely he is. Should they fail, here's the party that will unfortunately succeed: the left, an unhinged mob. I have to look at this because I didn't before. And the left is an unhinged mob. I wonder what this is. Oh, I can't play it. Darn. Oh, I can play it. Hang on here.
And if you see anybody in a...
Well, this has music in it, and you know what that means. It means the YouTube police will come after me. So we don't want that. So I can't play that for you. But I'm sure what it is just a compilation of the unhinged mob. And yeah, I think that's what it is. So that's it for tonight. I hope you've enjoyed your Q-related news. And I will be back tomorrow with more Q-related news. Or I will be back tomorrow with both Q posts and Q-related news, which would be a bonus for both of us, because I want to see Q posts. You want to hear about Q posts. And so it just works out. It's a good relationship. So anyway, have a wonderful evening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And make sure if you want to be subscribed that you stay subscribed, because they do kick people off occasionally. And hit the bell to be notified of future videos. Thank you so much, you guys who have supplied me with coffee and joined Patriot, my Patriot account, and I appreciate it so much, more than you know, and I just wish you all well. I will talk to you tomorrow. Thank you. Good night.